The following podcast contains spoilers for modern times. You have been warned!
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glenjamin Button, along with your host, Miguel Megusto.
Hello, Glenjamin. Welcome back to the first episode that doesn't have Roman numerals for the number, because, frankly, I got tired of it 30 numbers ago, but...
Yeah, I mean, it just became a lot, and people were confused.
I was trying to make it to 100, and we
now,
did it, so...
we did it.
Yeah.
We're good boys now.
Yeah, but how you doing?
I'm doing good, my man. I'm just living the Vida Loca. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
We just had a nice little kind of break from everything, and now we can just swell back on in.
It was a break, but more work for me than
usual. It's a lot of work for you, but let me tell you, a little break for me.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm glad that I've given you a break. But let's catch up, shall we? Just as a heads up, since it has been 2 weeks since we've done catch up and news and all that. We'll probably take a little bit longer on those, but it's fine. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time now.
So a lot of news in the last 2 weeks, and we might miss a few things, but I think we're going to cover at least a good portion of the bases. I think.
So without any further ado, Glenjamin Button, what movies have you seen since March 23rd?
All right, well, it's here we go. You ready? Mm-hmm. All right, so I've watched Palm Springs. I've watched If Anything Happens, I Love You. Also, Mike, just also a heads up, that's also a statement I'm saying to you. Gladiator, I rewatched it, by the way, not just watched it for the first time. Dazed and Confused, Boogie Nights, because for some reason I was just like in that like 80s, 90s realm for a minute there. Audrey, which was a documentary about Audrey Hepburn. Dante's Inferno, which for some reason I had like a nostalgic feeling, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to watch this thing that I know exists.
She should have stayed in the boat.
Absolutely. Then Godzilla vs. Kong, you and I saw that together.
Yes, we did.
Not only were there two giant monsters fighting, but there was two giant monsters having two hearts in the car on the way there, just like loving each other. Miles Davis, another documentary. I got after Godzilla, I got into documentaries a lot, so we're about to hit a bump here, which is pretty hilarious. Miles Davis, Birth of the Cool, which I actually watched on Easter for some reason. Like, we were all just waiting for dinner to be made, and I'm like, you know what? I should watch Miles Davis. Yeah. And then after that, Quincy, which was another documentary. Actually, Rashida Jones directed this one.
Well, it's about her dad.
So that was like a really cool thing to see. Like, you can definitely see the heart in it and everything like that.
Definitely, yeah.
And then after that, I watched I Am Not Your Negro, which was a fantastic movie.
It's such a great documentary.
It's fantastic film. Very, very impactful.
Yeah.
And you could see now, like, I'm moving from documentary to just like straight getting into the civil rights stuff, and like I've just been like, mind blown by all of it, and just like everything that they went through, and like people back then, and I just had to keep watching. And then after that, I watched the 2 Killings of Sam Cooke, which I knew about Sam Cooke, but I didn't know a lot about Sam Cooke, and this kind of blew my mind watching this. What a great man.
Is that a documentary? Or
Yes, another documentary. And then after that, believe it or not, another documentary called What Happened, Miss Simone. Yes, which was a documentary about Nina Simone. I have never really heard of her until I watched this. But she was a great artist. She was very adamant about the civil rights, and she's more like Malcolm X than most people were. She was very like, I'm going to beat people's asses for this shit that's going on. And she was a very, very strong woman, and her career kind of like dwindled down at a certain point because of all of this stuff. But it was a really good documentary. And then last but not least, I watched Modern Times with Charlie Chaplin. We will get into that in a hot little bit. But Miguel, hit me with it, Daddy-o.
I got a question for you. Am I you?
Are you me?
Are you me? Because you watched a me amount of movies.
Yeah.
And I watched a you on a good week amount of movies.
Yep.
A good week times 2 or 3, however many weeks it's been since we've done this. So in total, 3, 4, 5, I watched 9 movies in total since our last official episode.
Yeah, I've watched 14.
And until this weekend, it was only 3.
Holy crap.
So yeah, I really did not watch that much this week.
You a busy boy.
Or
busy
this
boy.
past few weeks, yeah. So the first one I watched was Nobody with Bob Odenkirk. It's kind of that John Wick meets middle-aged dad film. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well made, and you know, it's a fun movie. It's nothing. It's very satisfying. That is the word that when John Clark asked me what I thought of it, I said satisfying. It is one of the most satisfying movies I saw.
You'll love to hear it.
Yeah, RZA's in it. If you like RZA,
I do like RZA.
Christopher Lloyd is in it for a hot minute. You know, it's just a fun movie. It doesn't take itself too seriously.
Good.
And it's got great action sequences, and Bob Odenkirk kicks ass. So
Literally.
yeah, exactly. Then I watched Never Let Me Go, which is a movie that I've not lying have gotten from Netflix DVD 4 times and have sent it back 3 times without watching it just because I wasn't in the mood.
Yeah.
I got it back a 4th time and said I need to watch it this time.
You know what they always say, 4th time's the charm.
Yeah. So it's really good. It's you know, it's a little slow moving, which is fine. It's a little different than what I expected. Found out it is written by Alex Garland, who did Annihilation, which we referenced not that long ago, and Ex Machina and Devs, the miniseries.
Yeah.
And it definitely has that vibe, so I highly suggest Never Let Me Go.
Okay.
Then I watched a South Korean film called Crying Fist. It's a film about boxing, kind of like Warriors, only they're not brothers. It's 2 down on their luck boxers kind of working their way to gain respect. I know this is hearsay and blasphemy when we're so close to Philadelphia. I enjoyed it more than Rocky.
You disgust me.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to spit on you with my Aftermath cheesesteak.
I feel like if you watch it, you'll agree.
I don't doubt that.
Now it has not been preserved the greatest. It was shot on digital in the early 2000s and has not been preserved as well as other digital films from that age. Okay. So the quality is not great, but the story is really good, and it's got the main actor from Old Boy. He's one of the actors in it, or one of the boxers in it. It's just a really well made film. I highly suggest it if anyone can find it, because it's no longer on Criterion Channel.
That makes me wicked sad.
It'll probably come back.
Yeah.
Then we watch Godzilla vs. Kong, which I liked more than you, which is fine.
Very much.
Then I rewatched Get Duked, one of our Stony nominations, just because I like it. It's a fun movie.
I still have to get on it.
Yeah, you do have to get on it, because I think it's a little controversy here. Maybe should have been part of a 3-way tie instead of a 2-way tie.
Well, there's always, I would like to say next year, but there's always, let's go back in time and say this year.
Then I watched Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, which is a Kristen Wiig film. The film overall is okay. It's one of those you'll either love the humor or hate it. I liked the humor, but it kind of bored me.
Yeah.
But the most important thing, it felt like everyone had fun while making it, and that is the most important thing when you do that kind of film. Yeah, when you do a comedy like that, if it feels like everyone's having fun, then it transfers to the audience. So I had fun watching it, just wasn't as great.
Yeah, that's good.
As I was hoping. Yeah. Then I watched Modern Times. We'll get that into that in a minute. Then I watched French Exit with Michelle Pfeiffer and Lucas Hedges. It's a dark comedy that was darker than I thought it would be, but like in a good way. Like it was never just like, oh my God, this is super dark. It always had humor in the dark moments, unlike other dark comedies where it gets serious at times. Okay. And I really enjoyed it. Michelle Pfeiffer's fantastic in it. It's kind of
she usually is that woman, a nice lady.
It's very dry throughout, so if you do check it out, it's a monotoned movie, but it works.
Yeah.
So highly suggest people check out French Exit. Then I watched The Great Escape, Steve McQueen film, and also Richard Attenborough, who is the scientist billionaire owner guy in Jurassic Park. He plays one of the main characters as well. It is based on a true story of prisoners of war, British, American, Scottish prisoners of war breaking out of a Nazi prisoner of war camp in World War II. And it is... Little fun fact, it is the inspiration for Chicken Run. So if you've seen...
An excellent film.
Yes, if you've seen Chicken Run before this, you will notice the similarities. And it's if you've seen this before Chicken Run, watch Chicken Run because it's a fun little parody with cartoon chickens. Or, clay chickens that are animated.
Yeah, the Great Escape is one that's been sitting in my Netflix queue for a long time.
I highly suggest it. It's long, so be in for but it is a really well-made film and still holds up so many years later. So yeah, highly suggest that. That is all I watched these past few weeks. So let's jump into news.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first or should I?
We can go back and forth if you want.
Okay. Well, you have more, so I'll let you go first.
So like the last category here, we're going to go kind of pretty quick with this. My first news for me is going to be pretty huge for me because I love this and can't wait. The Ghost of Tsushima game is getting its own movie in the works now. So if anybody had played the game, it is a fantastic, beautiful game with a great story, and I cannot wait to see that transcended into movie form because I think it could work very, very well. The production company that made the game actually got a key from Tsushima, Japan, or I'm pretty sure it's Japan, because they did such a great job at adapting the story of what happened in that game.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it would be great to see that adapt as well into movie form.
Yeah. What console is that game on? I kind of want to...
It's on PlayStation 5. It might be on PC in the future, but it's... Or not PlayStation... it might be on PlayStation 5. 4 and 5. PlayStation 4 and 5.
Okay. I do want to play it. I just don't have any console because I'm a poor boy.
Absolutely. So. if I had a copy, I would let you have it. Or just let you play it for a little while. It is a fantastic game. And hopefully in the future, movie.
Yeah. So my first bit of news, Godzilla vs. Kong smashed the pandemic record. Not that that's saying much.
Yeah.
But it came in with a $60 million haul its first weekend, which... even in a non-pandemic era is very respectable. That's kind of average for a number one film on good weekends. Obviously there's weekends in January that the number one only does 18 million.
Yeah.
But spring, summer, and some winter films, 60 million is extremely respectable. And it's also the 5th highest grossing Easter weekend box office.
Awesome.
So, light at the end of the tunnel here.
Absolutely.
Movies have proven that they are here to stay, and excited for that.
And you can't stop a big monster movie like that from being shown on the big screen.
I just realized I have one extra one, so I don't know how many you have, but I have 3 now.
My next couple are going to go pretty fast.
Okay.
So this one, we had just talked about Rocky not that long ago and how disrespectful you are of it.
I still love it.
I'm just about to say. But Creed 3 will not feature Rocky Balboa, says Sylvester Stallone. So there's that.
Two felt like they were kind of distancing from him. Not in a bad way, just
it's definitely not a bad thing. It would be cool to see him in Creed 3, but, I mean, I'm not entirely against, they kind of wrapped his story up,
Yeah, exactly.
With his spoiler, he's with his family now, or seems to be with his family now, instead of, playing the boxing game, being a coach and whatnot. So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah. My second bit of news, which is the one I just thought of, Warner Brothers has announced that they plan on releasing all films in theaters exclusively for at least 45 days in 2022. What I have to say to that is that should have never been a question in the first place.
Never been a question.
That should have always been their plan. So the fact that they had to clarify maybe not so much goes against Warner Brothers, but where people's mindset is.
Yeah.
And to me, it was kind of obvious that would happen.
Yeah.
But it's glad to get confirmation from a company that is their plan. So that's that.
So that is good news for anybody who wants to go see a Warner Brother movie, for sure. My next piece of news actually kind of has to deal with Warner Brothers in a little bit. So I had messaged you like this last week or so. There's still news coming out about Joss Whedon and this Justice League stuff. This time, it was Joss Whedon had reportedly threatened Gal Gadot's career during Justice League reshoots, which, holy shit.
Yeah.
This man, I don't think is going to have a career after this. Like, who
He
knows?
shouldn't, honestly.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, this isn't surprising to people who pay attention.
Yeah.
Like, I've always known, like, when I first heard that Joss Whedon was taking over for Zack Snyder for Justice League, my first thought was, oh, I guess his career isn't dead yet. Because things had come out that year, if not a little bit earlier, about similar things. And people just ignored it. And so, you know, I've never really liked Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
I think everything he's ever made is extremely overrated, like Firefly, Buffy. Everything he's made is overrated.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Avengers got better once they moved away from him. So, and that's coming from me.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
coming from me. So, I'm glad he's done.
Yeah, it's.
I hope he doesn't have a career again.
It would be amazing if he had. Well, not amazing, but you know what I'm trying to say. Amazing if he somehow came out of this. You know.
Yeah, I think Cabin in the Woods is the only thing of that he didn't even direct it, but the only thing that he produced that I
produced.
Like. Yeah, that I like a lot at least.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's like a thing to me. Like, it's amazing that we're still going with this Justice League drama. Obviously, it should be told. You know, like, people know that this shit's going on. Like, we need voice like this. But like, I kind of wish there would be more variety instead of just from Justice League. You know, of all the drama, more people speaking up about things. But maybe that's the good thing. Maybe there isn't drama in other places, but I sincerely doubt that.
There's been drama in Buffy, but that's come out, but it's been quiet compared to Justice League because that's how Hollywood works, which is dumb. But you know what?
That's that for me on that.
So my last bit of news is a much more downer for the film industry compared to my last one.
Wait till you hit me with this downer.
Oh, no.
Until I hit you with this downer here.
So ArcLight Cinemas and Pacific Theaters are shutting down all locations permanently. They are I think they're the first theater chain to kind of fold from the pandemic. This mainly affects the West Coast. The nearest ArcLight to us is Bethesda in Maryland, which is right outside of DC, which I have been to. I saw Song of the Sea there, so it's a little bit sad knowing that the theater I saw Song of the Sea, it will be closing down. But overall, it shouldn't affect the East Coast too much. For you West Coast people, I'm very sorry, but a lot of their theaters are beloved theaters, like the Pacific Cinerama Dome in Hollywood. And that one specifically will most likely be bought by another company. It's just maybe some of the newer ones won't. But the old theaters that they owned will most likely be bought out, the historic theaters, by bigger companies.
And if they don't, how dare this world?
Yeah. You know for a fact that if no one else buys the Cinerama, Quentin Tarantino will. Because
he's gonna gobble it up.
Yeah, I mean it's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so we already know he knows he loves the theater.
Oh, absolutely.
So he'll probably buy it if no one else does. But yeah, a little bit of downer. But you know, I expected some theaters to close. Maybe not ArcLight, just because they are primarily LA. But
yeah.
They are overpriced, though.
That is that is very sad news.
The ticket I saw a 2D showing of Song of the Sea in Bethesda. Like, if this was LA, I would understand, but it was in Bethesda, Maryland, and it was $20 for a 2D ticket. And I was like, okay, this is the last time. I did not see it in IMAX. And the only thing extra that I got is ArcLight. They have someone come in and tell you about the movie beforehand. And I was like, I already did this research, man. You don't need to tell me.
Well, Jesus.
Yeah. Anyway, I like ArcLight cinemas, but they are overpriced.
Yeah. And from there, I will move on a little bit from the downer until I hit you with the real good downer. Ryan Johnson is going to have immense control over Knives Out 2 and 3.
Nice.
Which is awesome, because he does have a creative mind, and we know what happens when he's a little bit held back on his movies. Star Wars. So that's really awesome news. Like, that's really good to hear. I really like Knives Out, and I can't wait to see the new 2 when they pop up on Netflix.
Yeah.
After that, we've got Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam movies officially started filming. I don't know if anybody's actually excited for that. I kind of am. I don't know where it's going to go. Just a lot of hype on it.
Yeah.
I like Shazam. I don't know how they're going to translate that into Shazam, but we'll see. And from that, here comes the big downer. Rapper DMX dies at 50.
Okay, not to take away from DMX's death, because it is very sad. I thought you were going to tell me, like, Regal is closing theaters near us.
No. In fact, they're opening a shit ton more.
I know. So, rest in peace, DMX. Legitimately one of the only rappers that I've ever liked on a regular basis. Like, I'm not a huge... I understand why people like rap. It's not my thing, but DMX I really liked. I'm not going to sit here and claim that I'm a huge fan of his, but he seemed like a good dude, and it is very sad.
Yeah, it was just the fact that we usually have a death somewhere, so we couldn't escape a podcast without somebody's death.
But like, compared to what I was thinking, because I already knew this news, it is a relief. So.
Yeah. So DMX was pretty huge impact for me, honestly. He was one of the... He's like actually the first rapper that I was ever really introduced to rap, and he was kind of my gateway rapper, which is kind of weird sentence to say. He introduced me to new people, because my dad would always listen to him on car rides when I was younger, and his first 2 major albums were just absolute bangers. A child my age probably shouldn't have been listening to it, but here we are. So definitely a huge rest in peace to DMX. He was a fantastic dude. Very, very religious man, which was very cool to see, in like such a good way. Just like his always had high spirits and stuff like that.
And a great family man. I highly suggest
absolutely.
anyone check out. Like, obviously he had his demons. He was always very open about his drug addiction, which was caused by someone tricking him into doing crack, which I just found out recently. But there is a beautiful video of him and his daughter, probably from 20 years ago. I don't know how long
slingshot thing.
Yeah, on one of those slingshot rides you see at
Daddy's here. Daddy's here.
And it's just beautiful to see how he interacted with his kids, and it's just such a... You got to really feel for the family, because you could tell that he loved them, and people struggle with addiction of everything. So to say that he... I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that's how he ended up dying, is a drug overdose.
It was a drug overdose that led to worse things.
Like, drug addicts are no better than anyone else, or no worse than anyone else. I mean, they struggle with things, that most of us would never even experience. So like, it's heartbreaking that's how it happened. But obviously I didn't know him, but he seemed like a great man.
Yeah, definitely seemed like a great man. Was an absolute legend, and we will listen to his music till the end of time. It's just as simple as that.
Exactly.
Because X is going to give it to us, and that is my last...
He will give it to us.
He will give it to us. And that is my last piece of news.
All right, so...
ending on a nice little downer.
Yeah, so hopefully our this film will cheer us up a little bit. Let's get into Modern Times.
Section 5, speed her up, 4-1. Attention foreman. Someone on bench 5, check under the tightness. Just coming through loose on bench 5, attention foreman. Back. Section 5, more speed, 4-10.
Modern Times. The tramp struggles to live in modern industrial society with the help of a young homeless woman. Written and directed by Charlie Chaplin. It is starring Charlie Chaplin, Paulette Goddard, Henry Bergman, and Tiny Sanford, as well as many others. This is from 1936. It is considered the last silent film, like true silent film ever made, because it is a silent film, but it used sync sound but doesn't have dialogue. and it's the last one that didn't use it ironically or as an homage. So it's just, I didn't realize it was going to be silent. Looking at the poster, saw Charlie Chaplin, I thought it was silent.
Yeah.
But then I saw the year, and I was like, okay, maybe it's not silent, because this is well past when talkies started. But it is a silent film. Sync sound actually came around, I think, 1927, whenever the Jazz Singer came out. That was the first one. But they were still making silent films back then. Yeah, 1927, Jazz Singer. They just incorporated sync sound to have, sound effects come in as well, and it was used mostly for sound effects. So to see Charlie Chaplin do that was really fun to see, and it's honestly, I was cracking up during this.
Yeah, this movie was I cannot and don't you can hold me to this. I cannot remember if this is my first Charlie Chaplin movie, but I would assume, knowing me, that it probably is.
Yeah,
but I've seen Buster Keaton films because you've recommended them to me.
Yeah, The General is one of my favorite silent films.
But I can't. This movie, regardless if this is my first movie or not, what a great movie! It's just so much fun. It really is.
Yeah.
There's actually one scene in particular that I had seen before that I didn't know it was going to be this movie. And it was when he's on the roller skates and he's kind of just skating around.
Yeah.
And then he's going to fall off this ledge that doesn't have a railing, but he doesn't. He just kind of zips by it multiple times, and then it's oh. I had actually seen that scene on Facebook or YouTube or something of how that scene was done, because it looks real.
It does. It is. I mean, obviously back then there were no computers.
Yeah.
So it was obviously matte painting was the answer to everything back then.
Yeah.
They paint a pane of glass, put it in front between the camera and the performer, and it creates this illusion.
Yeah.
But a lot of them were obvious that it was matte painting. This one is incredibly realistic.
Yeah, very, very, very realistic.
Yeah.
And watching it all be processed and how it was done with the lighting and everything, and just how practical it was really awesome to see. And just then when that scene popped up, I was like, oh, I saw this before.
And the knowing how it's made too doesn't make it any less impressive.
Yeah.
Yes, it takes the danger factor away.
Yeah.
But it's still incredibly impressive that he's doing all these moves, because they had a wooden beam to where the floor would drop off if it were real.
Yeah.
So he was still having to avoid that the entire time.
Yeah.
So to get that in the takes that he got was incredible. To kind of go back on what you were saying, this being your first Charlie Chaplin film, this is my third. This is my second silent film of his. The first one I watched was The Great Dictator, which is a great film.
Which is one that is on my radar that I still want to watch, because that speech in that movie is just excellent. That
one is a talkie. So this is the second silent film of his I saw. The other one was A Dog's Life, which is a beautiful film about the tramp and his dog, and it's wonderful. And this was probably the first really popular one of his that I watched, other than The Great Dictator. But it was so much fun. They open with that. It's a admittedly a long segment, but it's really fun, and they continue to do new things on it with the assembly line.
Yeah.
And just seeing how much smaller he is than everyone else on that assembly
everybody's
line.
this big burly man, pretty much, and he's just this little dude.
Yeah, and it's he was just such a great performer, physical performer, that he I don't think anyone can translate thought and emotion into movement as well as he did. Maybe Buster Keaton, but he was more known for deadpan reactions.
His stunts too,
yeah. But as far as emotion transferring over in translation, Charlie Chaplin's unmatched. He was just so great.
And it's really cool because if you've ever worked in a factory, you're getting beaten down. So like he really shows that too. Like he'll like show these little ticks that he has because he's just been working so hard and doing the same thing over and over again.
His muscles just force him to do the same thing.
Yeah, he's like a lady rolls by with a dress that's got buttons on it, and he's like tightening these bolts that are on these, and he just turns to her and just tightens her buttons, and it's so funny. And then he keeps incorporating that. And it's so funny.
I could never work on an assembly line like that because just watching that scene gave me anxiety.
Yeah, it's
like I could
great.
never do it.
Yeah, I kind of did that, but with like packages, it is tough because they come at you, especially like if somebody messes up, like like he was doing in here. That next person that's getting the packages is getting screwed by that guy. So like if somebody like misses sorting a package, you got to double sort now because you got to send that back if it's like a wrong. It's not fun at all, and it really shows. Like they paid attention to the details in this thing, even though like they were comedic details and like they were just working. They paid attention to it. It was really cool to see. Yeah. And there was something I was going to say from that, but regardless, it was really cool to see that part of it for sure. Definitely. And like how well it incorporated, for sure.
Yeah. It's also very interesting to see just how much Mr. Bean was inspired by Charlie Chaplin. Like a lot of the bits, including there's a scene, I think it's Mr. Bean goes on holiday, and he like lip syncs a song. And at the end of this film, Charlie Chaplin sings a song, which I didn't know he was actually singing. I thought he was lip syncing. But this is actually the first time that we hear the Tramp's voice, which is obviously just Charlie Chaplin's voice. But it was the first time and only time that the Tramp ever spoke or sang or did anything. And it was also this is the last film that his character, the Tramp, was part of.
Yeah, character.
So you could tell while watching it that this was really a way for Chaplin to say goodbye to the character.
Yeah.
And it honestly felt like that, even with walking off in the sunset with Paulette Goddard, who looks very modern. Like,
yeah, she looks great, and that was since we're talking about her now, it was freaking me out the whole time because she looks just like a friend of mine.
Oh yeah.
And it's scary. Like, my friend's a blonde though, and Paulette's a brunette. Yeah, that was like the scariest thing. I need to text her and be like, you need to watch Modern Times because like this chick looks just like you, except for she's like 100 years older than you, but still, well, 70. But
back
whatever.
Then, the makeup style and the hairstyle was so flamboyant and kind of in your face that usually when you watch old movies, they don't look like real people.
Yeah.
But in this, like, her makeup and hair is so toned down, and in a way, it's kind of modern styles. Obviously, I think modern styles obviously go back in time every few decades and rehash old styles. But, like, in some of her close-up, especially when she is homeless and not with Charlie Chaplin before they really meet, she, like, if you told me that this was a 20-something-year-old person from today, I'd believe you, because there's just nothing about her other than the fact that I know I'm watching a film from 1936 that screams 1936.
Yeah,
and that might sound dumb to some people, but if you really watch some older films, it's very obvious. Even in like the features, people just had slightly different features back then.
Everybody's had that look,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think what made that seem like it was more modern, at least the character's look, was because she might have been, poor.
Yeah,
like
I fully chalk it up to that.
Yeah, for sure. It's like that's like it's insane that we take style from poor people from the 30s.
Yeah. Hey, I mean,
we look fucking good though.
Yeah, style nowadays is about comfort, not so much looking good. Which honestly, if I had to live in a world where I had to wear a suit every day, I'd
Yeah, I'd be
I'm
okay
thinking
with
of
doing
ending
it maybe over a
I'm thinking of
weekend.
ending things, not the movie.
Not
Am
the
I
movie.
right?
Yeah, I'd be cool with doing it over like a weekend, but like you catching me every day at
Every day?
my
Hell no.
desk with a suit on, like,
I
sorry about
I
it.
sweat when I sit at my computer for too long. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, this had so like this feels like, and it definitely flows well, but it kind of feels like 3 or 4 short films
Mm-hmm.
thrown together, just because the segments are so different. But it completes the narrative. Obviously, he goes to prison at one part. They straight up are doing cocaine in the
Yup.
prison. Obviously, Charlie Chaplin doesn't do it on purpose, but the fact that that one guy just had cocaine in prison. I'm sure prisoners have cocaine all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
It was just kind of funny that they would have something so risque for the 30s. Like you think of
Yeah.
the 30s as being like so stuck up and
Well,
trying to
they
avoid
had
any.
like cocaine gum and everything in when those Western movies were taking place. Maybe they were
Yeah.
just like, let's keep it, put it on
Yeah.
our noses.
Man, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. What was your favorite segment of this?
That's actually really like a tough answer or the question because it would probably have to be that roller skating thing just because I know
Yeah.
how it was done and how cool it was to do or like see. But I mean, they had like a lot of fun in the beginning assembly line. Even just the small gags of like the chick Paulette got a little shack house, like just it looks like a just rundown shed.
Yeah.
And when they're eating, dinner together, and she like is cutting like slices of bread, but like, she made them too thick, and like then like they sit at the table, and he just falls through the floor. It's just little
Yeah.
things like that. It's the whole movie. It's really tough to know like a favorite gag, but it probably because I know how it was done, it was probably the roller skating one for sure.
I would have to say it's probably a tie between that one and when he's trying to deliver the roast duck.
Yeah.
When there's a crowd dancing, like that was
Yep.
just so funny. One of my favorite films. Believe I made you watch it. You might not be as crazy about it as I am, but The Court Jester. Where there's a scene where the jester gets stuck with a bunch of knights who are doing like this stomping ritual.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of that, where he just keeps getting stuck and like he gets close to the table, but then the current of the crowd pushes him another way.
Yep.
And it was just so satisfying to watch, and just
And then the duck gets stuck on a lamp.
yeah, and then there's the football team that is drunk, so they think it's a football.
Yep.
Just a whole bunch of really stupid shit happening.
Yeah, it's this movie knew what it was, and it
Oh,
had
yeah.
fun with the things it was doing. So it was just a lot of fun.
And I think another one, which honestly I forgot about. I'm scrolling through stills of the film, but when he is the guinea pig for the machine that feeds you,
Yeah.
it's just the corn machine that keeps going. I was
that,
dying.
That was
to
a great one too.
Oh yeah,
don't
I
know
was
how he
worried for
didn't-
his teeth.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how his teeth didn't break
Yeah,
apart,
I mean, that
or
was
his
a
mustache
trend.
didn't get shaved off
Yeah.
somehow.
That was a trend not too long ago.
Yeah, like
Where
2
people
or
would
3
put
years
corn
ago,
on cob on a drill, and then like so many people broke their teeth.
Yeah.
But it's just such a fun film and doesn't take itself too seriously.
And like that scene specifically shows like just how dedicated he is to a skit, and
Yeah.
it's really awesome because like he went all out. And that thing was rubbing up. For most people today, they'd probably like just get it off my face now,
Yeah.
please. But
Yeah.
yeah, he was definitely dedicated, and like back then you couldn't really take like cuts that often. So he rolled with it regardless, probably how either painful or whatever it was.
Yeah. One fun fact about this is that this film kind of got him into a little bit of trouble
Oh.
because the government thought it was a pro unions and pro communism.
Oh yeah, I could guess that actually.
Which is like a huge stretch. Just, I mean, like he accidentally partakes in a protest for union rights, and then the rest of it is just him trying to find a job,
Yeah.
which is like kind of what capitalists want. So I don't see it's a stretch by any means, but I just think that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But is still incredibly fun to watch. Has slight commentary on corporate America, but also has fun with it. Kind of makes it inoffensive to people on both sides of the aisle, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really loved. This is more or less the last thing I kind of have to say about this. I really loved the chemistry that Charlie Chaplin and Paulette Goddard had together.
Oh yeah. Well, they were actually married. I don't know.
It makes sense now.
Yeah, I don't know if they met on the set of this, but they were married around this time. So.
Yeah, because she was given just as much energy in this movie as he was.
Absolutely,
and it really showed, and just showed how great she was as well.
Yeah,
which was really cool.
Section 5, more speed, 4-7. Back. Section 5, more speed, 4-7.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of does it for our review. So, Glenjamin Button. Now comes the time, and we haven't done this for a while, so I'm kind of rusty in what to say.
Feels
now
weird.
comes the time to decide whether or not Modern Times becomes a Keystone shelf review, film review shelf boy.
Shelf boy.
Shelf boy, that's what it is. So this was my pick, so I'm going to go first. Will it become a shelf boy like the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden? I think we kind of
You're not
summed
rusty
it up.
on that.
Yeah, it's just a really fun film. One of the last silent films, historically relevant, still funny to this day. Like, it's timeless with its telling of a story and physical comedy and all that. So I am going to have to say yes, it absolutely is deserving of the shelf.
All right. Well, it's hard to compete with that one. I was also going to say yes.
Well, there we go.
It's really tough.
Yeah. So Modern Times makes it onto the shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. That brings us to our plugs for this week. My plug, for those of you who don't know, we've kind of been obnoxious with this, so I hope some of you do know. But we had our very first annual Stony Awards.
You would be selfish and plug that.
Yeah,
Disgusting.
Really. So last week's episode of the podcast was the audio version of that. There is also a video version on YouTube of the award ceremony. I spent a lot of time in editing this, and I would really appreciate if people watch it, because honestly, there's a lot of visual gags in there.
It's kind of a masterpiece.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but yes, it's.
I'm allowed to, so it is very fun.
So that is the first annual Keystone Film Review Stony Awards ceremony on our YouTube channel, and there will be more where that came from next year. Awards. What are they? Who are they for? Can anyone give an award out? The answer to all of these questions is yes. We at Keystone Film Review have decided to give out our own awards this year, a totally 100% gold award that is not at all made of plastic. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the time that you have been waiting for, the first annual Keystone Film Review Stony Awards! TM. Also, please forgive the quality of the first half of our broadcast. The Academy Awards found out about us and tried to sabotage us. It's not at all an embarrassing gap by a resident filmmaker. Come on, Mike, get your shit together!
Well, I'm not going to be as selfish, so, hold your pants.
Okay.
Let's see. Where is my plug, actually? Actually, there it is. On YouTube, under the account of Keystone Film Review, there is a first annual award show. These guys went all out. I don't know how they did it. That's exactly right. I'm doing it too. I'm being selfish, baby. The same thing as Mike just plugged. Let's go, baby.
Papa Hicks said that it definitely exists.
It definitely exists.
That that's high honors from such a man.
We live by his word for sure.
Yes, we do. And our next category is, I believe, and I could be incorrect, my dad, Papa Hicks's favorite category, best sci-fi film.
Interesting.
Sometimes Phi needs to be a little sigh.
I'm sighing
It really
right now.
does. And the nominees are. So that is our plug for this week. Just check it out. We'd really appreciate it. We put a lot of work into it.
Mostly Mike, but yeah,
mostly me, but you did put some work into it, and it was fun to get together and do, and I can't wait to do one next year, so check that out.
Absolutely.
That brings us for our assignment for next week. Benjamin Button, what is our assignment for next week?
All right. It was very, very tough. I was we haven't been on Hulu in a little bit, so I was just, scavenging through Hulu. Everything that I came across, you had basically already seen before. I'm like, God,
I'm sorry.
This
I'm
man
upset.
is so beautiful. How can I stop him? But luckily, I kind of came across one that I did want to watch, and that you, at least, didn't see, as far as Letterboxd tells.
Okay.
And that is The Color Purple.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, I've been wanting to watch this for a while. It's actually in my Netflix DVD queue, so I guess I'll remove it.
The Color Purple. An American story for the whole world. It's about life. It's about love. It's about us. You will always remember, Mr. Suge. Old Mister. Nettie. Harpo. Squeak. Sophia. And Seeley. You will never forget The Color Purple.
So, The Color Purple. A black Southern woman struggles to find her identity after suffering abuse from her father and others over 4 decades.
Yes.
This is a huge film. I'm actually pretty sure I think Quincy Jones actually kind of did the score for it. That's kind of how I found out a little bit more about it recently. But it's directed by Steven Spielberg, written by Menno Mejis. I don't know if I said that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. The novel was from Alice Walker. It stars Danny Glover, Whoopi Goldberg, Oprah Winfrey, Margaret Avery, Willard E. Pugh. There's a bunch of people in this movie. I definitely wanted to watch this at some point in my life, and here we are now.
Yes.
And that point is now.
That point is now.
And that is, by the way, it's going to be on Hulu. And there was one more. It's also on HBO Max. I don't know how many people out there actually have it, but I do not.
Nor do I. I just removed it from my DVD queue for Netflix. So
there you go.
Yeah, we'll check that out. That is The Color Purple on Hulu. That is our assignment for next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, you can check out our website, www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we are Keystone_film_review. Twitter, almost skipped Twitter. Keystone_film. Facebook, Keystone Film Review. YouTube, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike, KFR.
And I am Glenn, KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we watch The Color Purple. And goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.